A family of 4 is terrorized in their suburban home.
They got ready to go to work, and they were accosted as they left.
One of them pistol whipped me in the right side. I fell to the ground right away.
Only 3 make it out alive.
Lying prone on the ground, no danger to anyone, he was then beaten and killed.
It's a brutal murder that leaves investigators wondering, is this a robbery gone wrong or something else entirely?
And that was something that perplexed us. Were they going to kill everyone in the home and leave no witnesses to tell?
And at the heart of the crime, a sinister betrayal.
He knew the dangerousness of this situation, and he did nothing to stop it.
How well do you know your neighbors? What lies behind the white picket fences? Located 25 miles northwest of Philadelphia, North Wales, Pennsylvania is the perfect place to live for folks who crave the culture of a big city, but who still want to enjoy all the delights of small-town life.
North Wales is a wonderful place to raise a family, to live, to work. It's a very close-knit community where people watch out for their neighbors and care about their neighbors.
And it's in one of these neighborhoods that first-generation American Richard Che calls home, along with his younger sister Mina and parents Robert and Janice Che.
Growing up in North Wales is just like any other suburban area, quiet, not worrying about any kind of dangers outside. But I would say I had a pretty normal life.
But this life in North Wales was a world away from his father's upbringing, in a poor remote village in his native country, Korea.
My father would talk to me about his childhood. He told me it was very difficult. He didn't have electricity at night. He had to actually go out and cut wood for winter just to keep warm.
Richard's father, Robert, or as he was known back then, Jumshik Che, dreamed of a better life.
He wanted to study and move out of the village and to actually make money.
So, Jumshik enlists in the service as a way to leave his small village.
And then when his service time was up, I think he moved to the U.S.
Like millions of immigrants before him, Jumshik Che was chasing the American dream.
When he moved to America at the time, I don't think he spoke any English at all. But he also told me that he came to America with like a couple $100s, which is very brave, I would say.
Once on U.S. soil, Jumshik fell in love with his soon-to-be wife, a nice Korean woman named Janice, and officially changed his name to something a little more American.
When he became naturalized, he chose the name Robert.
Life for Robert Che in the United States is a good one. He and Janice start a family and open up a mom-and-pop beauty supply store in nearby Philadelphia.
He decided a beauty supply was very, very good because he thought it was something that women need every day. I don't think they had many beauty supply shops back then.
The business flourishes, and Robert and Janice Che buy a big house in the suburbs, a home where they raise their 2 children. And it's in this home, during the early morning hours of January 9, 2009, that the Che family's American dream turns into a nightmare.
I was sleeping in my bed, and somehow I awoke. They were in my room, and they had the flashlights pointed at me.
Flashlights and guns.
They kept saying, "Get up, get out of bed, get up." And I had my glasses on, everything was blurry. My vision is very poor. I couldn't make out who they were, I just saw how big they were.
The men force him to his feet.
One of them pistol whipped me in the right side. I fell to the ground right away. After that, all I could feel was like a ringing in my ear, and I was even more dazed. They told me to go downstairs to the basement. I was really scared, frightened of what could happen next.
Frightened his family might not make it out alive. Officer Joseph McGuigan of the Montgomery Township Police has worked in law enforcement for over 12 years. He began his career as an officer for Philadelphia's Transit Police Department, a sometimes dangerous assignment.
Down the city, you have risk everywhere. Robberies, rapes, assaults, shootings, suicide, people jumping in front of trains.
It's this risk that caused his wife many sleepless nights.
The reason I applied at Montgomery Township Police Department, basically my wife felt it would be safer than working in the city.
And it doesn't get much quieter than North Wales and surrounding Montgomery Township. Still, even the burbs aren't immune to some big city crime.
Anywhere you're a police officer, it's dangerous. Crime's everywhere. Violent, non-violent, it's there.
And that's all too evident during the early morning hours of January 9th.
I received a call from dispatch. It came in as a burglary in progress.
According to the 911 caller, Janice Che, her family is being terrorized in their home by multiple assailants.
Are the officers with you?
Fortunately, she is able to escape to a neighbor's home to call for help.
When I arrived on scene, started to come up onto the property towards the house, at which time Mrs. Che was coming from the house over here.
Pretty much almost hysterical. She had duct tape in her hair. She just kept yelling, you know, my husband, my husband.
She's desperate for police to save her family.
Went up to the house to gain access, thinking the front door would be open. It wasn't, it was locked. Mrs. Che just kept yelling, break it down, break it down.
McGuigan kicks in the door. Inside, the home looks eerily normal.
As I entered the house, I proceeded to start upstairs.
Within a few steps, he catches sight of the Che's adult children, Richard and Mina.
I didn't get all the way upstairs. I got about halfway when I heard Miss Che's daughter come around the corner yelling at me. She was kind of frantic.
Richard and Mina Che tell McGuigan the attackers are gone and lead the officer towards the garage where their father is.
As I was coming down the hallway towards the laundry room area, appeared to be blood smeared across the wall.
But even the blood doesn't prepare McGuigan for what he sees next.
Mr. Che was in the garage with his arms behind him, and his feet were bound also. His entire head was duct taped. Pretty much the only thing you could see was just the top of his hair, laying in a pool of blood.
McGuigan checks for vital signs.
I was unable to find a pulse. His body was just lifeless.
58-year-old Robert Che is dead, and he didn't go down quietly.
I looked around, noticed the knife that was covered in blood. With the amount of blood, I thought that he was possibly stabbed in the face with the knife.
It's a chilling scenario. A man dead, his family terrorized, and the assailants on the loose. For McGuigan, even during his 6 years on the beat in Philly, this scene is one of the worst.
I've seen some other gruesome stuff in the city, but you know, that was up there.
It's now up to police to figure out what happened on Gwenmont Drive. And the sleepy suburb of North Wales is about to get a terrifying wake-up call. Life in the suburbs is synonymous with days spent at shopping malls, houses on cul-de-sacs, and soccer moms taking their kids to school. But for North Wales Mayor Doug Ross, his town is so much more than that.
What makes North Wales special are the people in the area. They're very friendly and always willing to help if you ask.
Which is why when Mayor Ross learns of the murder of 58-year-old Robert Che, he's stunned this type of violence could happen in his backyard.
I had asked our police department to keep me posted with what goes on and what they learn. It was important to me, as part of my mayoral duties, to be able to comfort people and speak to them.
And comfort is something the folks in the North Wales area sure could use.
People were all concerned, could this happen here? Why did this happen to them? Could this happen in my neighborhood?
It's a question not only residents are grappling with, but one investigators assigned to solve the case will have to answer. Homicide detective Michael Santorelli has an eye for photography, and he honed his craft on the job.
Prior to coming to the homicide unit, I was employed by another police department.